Thank you. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
We did the roll call at 5:45. Everybody is still here. So we are down to item C, which is approval of the regular city council meeting minutes from November 12th.
I'll move the minutes of the regular council meeting of November 12th.
Moved by Smith. Support. Second by Mr. Bell. Thank you. Roll. Mr. Smith, any comments on the minutes?
I have one very minor point. On page 4 of the minutes, under D1, and just where it's a discussion followed at the very end, add a period. Otherwise, it looks like maybe something was forgotten.
Period.
Okay, Mr. Bell, anything? Other council members, comments on the meeting minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes with the additional period in D1, signify by saying aye, please. Aye. Those opposed? Thank you. We have no pre-arranged participation tonight, so we're down to approval of the agenda.
I'll second.
Moved by Fisher, second by Knight. Thank you both.
I'd like to propose a change.
Okay.
I'd like to see L3, new business, the youth representative, change that to discussion instead of consideration.
Is that okay with Ms. Fisher and Ms. Knight?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll let the original motion be to approve the agenda with the consideration of item L3 change from consideration to discussion.
Correct.
Any other discussion by council? Okay, all those in favor of approving the agenda as modified, signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you very much. We have no public hearings, so we're on to non-arranged participation. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak this item on any topic? Seeing none, we'll bounce down to item H, which is communications. We had 2 communications in the packet, our upcoming meeting list and our sign calendar update. Comments on either communications, Mr. Smith?
On the Dexter City Council special meeting, the date's wrong. Should be 27.
No.
Okay, thank you for that correction. Other comments on the communications? Okay, seeing none, we'll go to our first report from our Public Services Superintendent. Welcome, Dan. How are you?
Good. Good evening, council.
I did.
Everybody had a great Thanksgiving. I provided a 2-week report in the packet. Is there any questions on that?
I guess I'd like to congratulate you on the compliments that Mr. Bell, or Mr. Brown, Sean Brown, provided to you. That's nice.
They were very nice. He's our new engineer from the NDEQ for the water side. Obviously, he talked to his colleagues and talked a little bit about the way that we handle our business on the water end. And I thought it was very nice, very good comment. From our reports, and then when you walked around, they looked at all the facilities. They were neat and in order. I'm very proud.
You should be. Great job.
And I'm going to say that the tie bar on that, I'm on the Michigan Municipal League Legislative Committee for Transportation, Information, and something else. And it's always fun when I'm there. I get to share the best practices that you guys do with other communities. So they kind of get annoyed with it, but it's a joke.
Keep doing it. Last council meeting, I talked to you about the problem we're having with the secondary digester lid. I just got an update today that hopefully biotech will be here Tuesday or Wednesday to start hauling the sludge from that, so we can start the process of trying to figure out what we got going on there. We did some IPP sampling of spray sampling for NEPCO and also Alpha Metals. NEPCO's Cambrian system, their wastewater system, is working really well. The VOD was just about, non-detectable, and the phosphorus, the Cambrian system doesn't have anything to do with the phosphorus, but they cut their phosphorus about in half just with better practices and on how to clean your equipment and different things that they're doing by using non-phosphorus cleaning agents. So they're really headed in the right direction. We've actually been talking to them about using different techniques for cleaning for a while now. So, and they haven't put in a system yet to remove the phosphorus, like adding ferric or anything. So I was very happy with them results. And this was a surprise. This wasn't something they knew was coming, nor did Alpha. We haven't got anything back from Alpha yet.
Makes all that waiting worthwhile. It's gonna get better, it's gonna get better. It's great.
Last time we asked, is there any questions on my report?
So we added a update from F&B with the project. It's a little bit more detailed than council usually sees for a project, but since it's probably the largest project, well, certainly since I've been here for 11 years, we wanted to provide a little bit more of an update, and we figure we don't look at these every 1 or 2 months, whenever we feel like enough money has been spent to warrant an update. The first invoice was paid last meeting, and I think we will be in the habit of paying them mostly on the first meetings of the month. And so Dave Harvey is here, and then also Corey, who's the actual on-site projects superintendent, basically, are here to answer any questions you have from the report. Probably moving forward, they won't attend every time there's an update unless, I know that there's going to be a question. I don't know that, but I just wanted you guys to, for the first one, if there's anything that you want changed or else to see in the future ones, this is, like I said, the first time we've done something like this. And we just want to get the format locked in and then provide it every 1 to 2 months moving forward. The project should last till August-ish, right?
It's appreciated.
Everything's going great with the project. We got a little bit of a hold up on where the Headworks building's going. They're working right now with our contractor to work on a different way they need to sheet that for safety reasons. They ran into a little bit of water when they were down there. We're hoping to have that worked out this week. We're going to push forward on that. They're doing concrete work on the inside right now. The screw pumps have been removed. They filled the screw pump pit in with concrete. They're also building walls where the tertiary filters were. I'm not sure when they're going to be pouring concrete on that. Wednesday or Thursday, I believe. Wednesday. So it's progressing right along.
The only comment I would make, on page 16, where you talk about the owner change order number 1 for this period, adjust the contract value for a total reduction of $23.18. That sounds like the contract is going down, when in fact it's going up by that amount. And I know you're doing it in an area where you're talking about the owner's contingency, but that sentence makes it sound completely opposite of what's reality, and maybe you could...
Sure.
Or maybe you could describe that differently.
Yeah, in the future, we can change the wording of that. That's why we wanted
We'll do that. It was written the other way once, and some internal editing, they felt that it was confusing. I should rewrite it the other way, so we'll take that to heart and make it clear.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Well, I guess the obvious question is leaf pickup. I know it's been very difficult, and particularly with the snow and a lot of other heavy wet weather, and still a lot of leaves out there. Are you still hopeful that you'll get them all up?
We're going to do everything we can possibly do to get them up. Obviously, when we have a significant snow event, that takes all our guys from the the leaf machine.
Gotcha, I understand.
We're running with 4, and then we have a part-timer. So we need at least 3 on the leaf machine. We found works the best, but yeah, we're going to do everything possible. to get them done.
They did them pretty much every day last week. At least a half a day every day, but mostly full days. And they had done everything except for, like, in the, like in your area, that, like, section
Yeah, Forest
between
and
Baker
that,
and thing, and then the subdivision, so they were gonna finish that, the subdivisions, and then start over. But, I mean, you know, they basically just do everybody, and then do everybody, and then do everybody, so.
This time of year, once the leaves all fall, and I'm sure you know this, it just takes a little bit longer to
I
get
got
through
it.
the roof because there's so many leaves when, you know, when we get there, but.
And they have to break apart if they've frozen and thawed, and then they stick together, and
I
they
know
can't
about
fit
it.
in the tubes.
The snow is not helping.
Part of the issue is there's so many leaves there because they weren't picked up. We didn't have them out the first time because we couldn't get them out, okay? There's no place to park now, cars along the roadway.
Okay.
Yeah,
Mr. Miller, my neighbor's happy to let me park in his space for a while.
But, yeah, we're trying.
They do alleys also, too. So, yeah. I know we're coming up. And there's nobody else, but.
Questions for Dan? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Item number 2, under reports, is from our Community Development Manager. Michelle, how are you?
I'm fine. How's council this evening? Excellent. You've got my report before I go into the verbal updates. Does anyone have any questions for me?
I have one comment to add under, as it relates to the 2A, under her report. I did receive an email from Mark Berja, if that's how it's pronounced. He's a representative of the 8180 Maine team that proposed at the pre-op meeting. And he wondered if, he did take the questions that were raised by the pre-op team regarding traffic in the roundabout and traffic in the intersection of Dexter, Chelsea, and Main Street there. He went and talked to the road commission and asked them if they would approve either a traffic signal or a roundabout. And they told him that a traffic signal was completely out of the question, but they would consider a roundabout, you know, pending review and permitting and all that. And his question to us, or to me in the email, was would the city consider partnering for a roundabout there? Now, I have not replied. I got that email shortly after. He was asking if the city would consider partnering with a roundabout there.
I know, but with the county?
I just in getting it built. I didn't follow up on the email or answer it, other than I wanted to let you know that he did ask that question to us. I don't know how we discussed that necessarily. I wasn't prepared to necessarily discuss it today, but I wanted all of you to know that the applicant did send a correspondence back after the meeting, you know, thanking us for the pre-app and input, and then posed that question. So something for you to think about. Anyway, I've been out of town 10 days out of the last 14, so I'm catching up on sharing information and that kind of thing, so. Ms. Knight?
Michelle, on page 23, your report from the pre-app meeting, I was not part of that meeting. I don't know what to worry about. We haven't looked at it.
Okay, on page 23?
Yes.
Top of the page.
Just the agenda.
Oh, okay. Oh, is it? Okay. I thought I had 3 people from city council, but I'll figure that one out. Thank
Well,
you.
Jim, Paul, and Sean would be 3 people.
Okay, that's good. Oh, I bet it was a carryover from a different meeting. Thank you. So my updates for you, unless somebody has another question?
Quick one.
Go ahead, Zach.
I know we sent out information about parking. I continue to see the blue Dodge Caravan parked on Main Street overnight. Are we getting close to doing tickets with those?
No, but I did have a conversation via email with Jeff Fox to try and determine, you know, was it a breakdown? Is this somebody who
No.
lives? It's somebody
They
who
live on the
lives-
second floor.
Yeah, they
it's
live on the
their-
second floor. My understanding, and Courtney, help me if I mischaracterize this, before tickets can be issued, we have to put proper signage up identifying time limits and things like that. Because if I understand correctly, the history I've been told, years ago when tickets were issued, they got thrown out by the court because the signage is either not the right height, or it's not big enough, or it's not in the proper format. I'm not exactly sure, but that's understandable. And so, one of the things I'm working with Michael, who is our new assistant, is figuring out what are the next steps we have to take.
Who was it that told you that, Michelle? 'Cause I don't remember any of that.
Um,
I remember something with a handicap spot, but not with just the regular parking spot.
I believe it was Brenda.
Yeah, we'll just have to look into exactly
there's
that,
no
because I thought there might have been an issue because that one handicap spot that's on the pole that's short, right out in front
Okay.
of the office.
Okay.
But I'm not sure about, but I know that they are signed 2-hour parking. I don't know that they're signed no overnight parking.
Those are on the way into the city.
No, they're not. We removed those because we took that out of the ordinance. So you can, it's 2-hour parking from like 7 to 7, but I don't think the overnight parking is still in effect unless we have a specific traffic control ordinance for those downtown, which I don't think we do. So I think it's more the 2-hour parking that we try to enforce, or that we want to enforce because the businesses are open and you want to see people moving in and out of those spots. But I don't think it's the overnight parking on Main Street is currently banned.
I thought there was a winter time.
No, we took all that out when we redid the ordinance. And we never had anything specific for winter. Some places do have seasonal, like March or, whatever, November to March and all that. We don't have any of that.
Maybe we should consider it.
So we could. My only issue was that on a lot of those, it's all streets, and I don't want to ban parking in all streets. That wouldn't be practical for the community because too many people have multiple cars, especially in the subdivisions. So,
For the downtown area?
yeah. So it's really the 2-hour parking that we're more focused on, not necessarily the overnight.
Sure, yes.
Do you just plow around them then?
Yes.
Very much.
Okay.
So maybe we could have a little more of a discussion on where we're going on this item. There were some other things we were trying to do, send out notices to get people to park in different places before we see how far away we are from the ticket issuance, if that's the step we're going to get to.
I know that information has gone out to all of the businesses. I received a couple of phone calls from people wanting to make sure that the information that they give their employees is accurate. There seems to be more of a turnover, but I did notice the van and did have a conversation with Jeff about what we call tagging it so that they want to know they've got to get it moved, so.
Well, and I'd like to know, I guess, if it has to be signed, how many signs do we have to have? How much visual clutter do we have to add to our environment to?
Well, I think you've already, my understanding, again, it's based on hearsay, that the signs we have, you don't need more, they just need to be an appropriate height and size. What all that means, I have not investigated that, but I can, and that would be part of what we would do with
I think it's got to be done sooner. We can brag about how many parking spots we have and then we got to fish it, enough or not. But the fact of the matter is, unless you have enforcement, you really don't have a parking issue. I mean, you got a parking issue if you don't continue with enforcement. And I just can't believe that I guess I could ask the question, how many tickets have we given out in the last 10 years and how much have we collected? And I think I know the answer to most of that, okay? Pretty slim and none, okay? So the fact of the matter is that, a lot of the people, you heard, Don and I kiddingly say we need more parking, we put their money for that. A lot of people still say that, whether they believe, well, we have enough or not, okay? But you have to have the enforcement in there, and, if it doesn't, we're just whistling in the dark.
I just want to get to it in an organized fashion is all I was.
I got it. Yeah, I guess my answer is, I don't know why we haven't thought of that before. I'll take it.
Michelle, floor is still yours.
Okay, so the E-Cities luncheon, or I shouldn't say luncheon, it's more the late afternoon into the early evening. They're going to give out their acknowledgements to communities, their efforts for economic development, entrepreneurial development, et cetera. Dexter has been awarded a 4-star status again, second consecutive year. Again, we've only been in this 3 years, so it's quite a testament to the work that you all do and the policies that you create to make this an excellent community to live, work, and play in. The second update is I'm going to be forwarding you some information that I received as well as Courtney received from 2 separate sources. One was the Michigan Association of Planning and the other was SEMCOG. There's
And MMO.
Pardon me?
And MMO.
Oh, and MMO. Thank you. There's been legislation introduced to take away local control in regards to tree removal and replacement as it pertains to development proposals. So
Anything non-residential.
yeah. So apparently there are legislators that I should say developers that have got the ear of certain legislators, and so that's the attack that's coming. So the information that I'll be sending you is sort of a summary of what the legislation is about, what are some of the talking points that you could make, and to please contact your local legislators. On our Senate side is Joe Hume, and on the representative side is Donna Lazinski. So.
But can you answer because of how quickly that's going to be done?
I don't know.
The lame duck station?
So they're supposed to, it goes in front of the Natural Resources Committee tomorrow at 8:30, and they're expecting it to come out of there and get action, so it could be.
So it's a lame duck station currently?
And this is basically the folks to the east of us who were told, you're going to have to replace the trees, don't cut the trees. And they said, we're going to cut the trees, and they cut the trees, and now they got butthurt. They have to pay a bunch of money to replace the trees they cut down that they're told they're going to have to replace.
So now they get this change, and it would basically void everybody's ordinances that has anything that says that you have to do tree replacement or certain things in commercial development, so it's pretty, I imagine there's many communities that are.
Yeah, and
like
another
all.
attack on local control,
Yeah.
So, so please follow up with your local legislators. I appreciate that. The next update is I had a meeting with Carl Arft, he's the director of SciTime here in Dexter. You'll remember SciTime is a high-tech research and development here in Dexter. They started in Silicon Valley. They're a spin-off of Bosch. Quite a very interesting story. We had a 2.5-hour plus meeting. It was just a very, very good conversation. He's a delightful gentleman. He's actually younger than me, so saying gentleman makes him sound elderly, But the biggest concern he has right now in being in Dexter, and he and his wife love it here. He actually graduated from. He graduated from Dexter High. Is his company is growing, and in 2 years, at the rate that they are growing, he's going to need that next place to go. So he'll go from this little, maybe 2,000 square feet to needing 3, 4, or 5 times as much space. And that's something we currently don't have to provide. So it's going to take some creative thinking. It's a discussion item that will be on the EDC's agenda as a topic of conversation. And it will be something that we're going to need to be talking about as soon as I get that Economic Development Preparedness Committee pulled together. And I'm thinking of doing that after the first of the year, so we're not going to do it before Christmas. So, the last update has to do with Grandview Commons and the Rainbow Childcare. The ordinance is clear that when there are changes to an approved site plan during the construction, the developer needs to contact me as the zoning administrator, and then I need to make sure that you're aware of it. So I have 2. The rainbow one was actually in my report the previous time. I just want to make sure that you all are aware of it. The setback for the ground sign was supposed to be 15 feet. They've reduced it to 10 feet. That is still within the ordinance. 15 feet was more than was necessary. And so we've gone ahead and approved their permanent sign. In the case of Grandview Commons, the downspout and sump pump discharge lines, they're shown as connecting to the stormwater, that public storm line that runs along the rear of the property and then dumps into the detention basin and out into the wetland area. Mr. Brower had asked the city engineer early on, a few months ago, about daylighting it, and there was a misunderstanding of what that would be. City engineer thought that meant by the buildings, and natural flow would take it out toward the detention basin. But Mr. Brower's intention was to connect it through an underground pipe and discharge it farther away, closer to the property line. When we did an inspection of it, we just asked Mr. Brower, update your as-built that you have to provide for final zoning compliance. Make sure that I can scale it so that we can verify that it's a minimum of 5 feet. I prefer more like 10 feet away from the property line so that when that discharge happens, it just runs the natural course down to the detention pile. So I think things will be fine and it won't hold him up on his final zoning compliance. And then that's it. That's all I have.
Can you tell me, which I was happy about, that the WSD has signed a lease? Do we know how long that lease agreement is?
No, Allison did not give me, I'm presuming that it's for another year, but I didn't ask a lot of questions.
Well, they did a lot of work on the front of it, which kind of surprised me that they were doing some work on the front of that building, if they were going to tear it down. And so I was a little surprised at that when I was sitting there getting my hair cut. I was looking across and it didn't make any sense to me, but I just really interested to find out. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Julie?
Yes, on page 19, again, these, number 3B, 70 and 90 Ann Arbor Street, pre-app meeting. I'm a little confused about this sentence, the last sentence on the page, next to the last sentence. It says A.R. Brower has demonstrated the project would meet all other PR requirements.
Meet.
Should that be meet or need?
Yeah, meet. Thank you.
That's what I kind of thought, but well, thank you.
Yes. That's sort of, this one is sort of a classic example of where the ZBA comes into play. Bet you're gonna miss being on the ZBA. If there's nothing else.
Anything else? Okay. Before we, go ahead.
On that 3B there,
Yes?
is Brower intending to use the concept that he presented for that property?
For the one that he currently owns, yes.
He's not changing it?
No.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Before we move to the Washington County Sheriff report, I would like to allow Mr. Smith to provide an update on the Dexter Fire Department meeting that took place.
November 15th, I attended my first fire board meeting and was welcome at that. We did discuss the apparatus replacement proposal where we're talking about acquiring 2 new fire trucks. And we took a vote on a motion to purchase 2 Pierce PUC pumpers not greater than $1,172,784, and with $400,000 down payment, and finance the balance for 7 years. The vote was a 4-2 vote in favor of it. So the trucks will be ordered.
Would you quote that dollar amount again, please?
The total to finance, well, not greater than $1,172,784,
Thank you.
and then $400,000 down.
Zach and then Marie.
Could you share who the two no votes were?
Webster Township.
Both of their representatives? Right, and it's my understanding we had to get special order fire trucks because we couldn't fit the standard size fire trucks into this current downtown station.
It's, I mean, it was explained there's not too many fire trucks you can buy just off the shelf, okay? So you customize your specs for what you can do, so.
Okay. So it was my understanding that we had to get, they're shorter than the standard length, and we ended up paying an extra $100,000 for that verbiage.
That was never conveyed in either of the DFD meetings that I was at.
Okay.
Can you find that out?
Yeah, all I have to do is ask. But that was never conveyed in any material that I've seen or.
There was a proposal put forth by one of the Webster representatives to have Webster buy one truck and lease it back to the DAFD. And that didn't go anyplace.
Marie?
Do you know if they're planning on using DAFD reserves for the $400,000 down or asking the communities?
I'm not sure.
It's DFD reserves.
okay. So I could probably go out and go along with that, 200,000 I'm holding.
So that's all I have.
Thank you for reporting on that. Okay, we're down to the October written report from the sheriff's office. It's in the packet. Any questions from council on that report? I think it's generally good that all the percent changes are down. I think. Okay, we'll move on to city manager report. Cory?
Well, Justin and I are happy to report that we did receive the $300,000 from connecting communities from Mill Creek Park Phase 2. So they approved that at their meeting last week. So I couldn't get it confirmed. I stalked their packet and I knew it was in there, but I couldn't get them to confirm it until after the packet deadline. So I didn't want to put it in there without talking to Coy or Pete. So that's exciting. So now I think we're at like 630,000, I think.
613.
Yeah, 630. So between TAP and trust fund, or TAP and connected communities, and hopefully it'll be 300,000 from the trust fund to take it to over 900,000. So we're getting there.
And when is that date that's going to?
Trust fund should be soon. They won't actually appropriate it until January, I think, but I think they should release their scoring list here.
Yeah, so we have our final score.
Right.
We're just waiting for verification that we are funded.
Right.
Okay.
The score should be high enough to get the funding. I wasn't sure if council had an opinion yet about the recreational marijuana, if they had any direction for the staff on that issue, if you're looking to continue the ban or wanting to go in a
I don't
different.
think we need any changes.
Well, we have to pass an ordinance
Right.
then to do that, so
Yeah.
staff can work on that if that's the
You
direction.
have to opt out if you're gonna.
Correct. Everybody's in unless you opt out.
Okay.
At this time, I would prefer an opt-out. My concern is just the amount of money that's going to churn has a potential to block out all sorts of other businesses that are important to the ecosystem of a downtown. And I would prefer to let other folks be the pioneer with the arrow in the back and see how it plays out.
Right, and you can't control, I mean, if you opt in, or if you don't opt out, you can't control which types of businesses you have. So it's not like you can say, well, yeah, I'll take, one type of facility but not another. It's all 6 types of facilities or nothing. So that's a bit of that's a difference than medical as well, so. Okay, so we can work on drafting something that I don't imagine that needs to be super complicated. Let's see, did you want to talk about the roundabout lighting in your report? or-
No, go ahead. Good.
So Sean and I have a meeting Wednesday with the road commission regarding the roundabout lighting. So DT did install a shield, it's loosely defined as a shield, on that lighting. And the residents were still expressing concern, so we're meeting with that to try to figure out how we're going to move forward on that issue. Whether this, I'm not actually sure.
Well, just my interest in that meeting is a couple of things. One, I think we relied on the road commission and DTE to propose the type of lighting for the project. And the way it was brought to us was you could have the standard light fixture, or we could go with the decorative one. And the road commission did not want to pay beyond the standard. So we agreed that we wanted the decorative one and agreed to cover the cost of the decorative ones at both intersections, essentially. We covered the road commission's cost. If you recall, we're paying for the one at Baker and Dan Hoy, and they were paying for the ones at Baker and Shield. Well, the conversation that I had with the DTE lighting folks a week or so ago was that their solution to the whole thing is that they go back to the original non-decorative lighting, that's going to solve this light that's casting on a couple homes in the area. And my comment was, well, then we'd like to have our refund for what we paid and aren't going to get. And they've essentially said, no, we're not going to issue a refund. We'll replace the new ones, and you can have the 10 old fixtures. And I'm thinking to myself, well, what the hell good does that do to have 10 fixtures that we don't need or need to store, plus we pay.
Maybe put the new roundabout there, if that's what tells them.
I mean, now it's,
And no house is there.
I mean, it's sort of, it's not, a tremendously large amount of money, but it was $30-some thousand, I think, that we paid to upgrade these things. And so, anyway, we're gonna have a meeting to talk about it. I think some of the complaints that have come in, I don't know if anybody's been out there to look at these houses at night.
Can you, first of all, can you tell us, is it a shield or is it fixture?
Well, it depends. I was going to start there. If you stand at Shield, the light at night, certainly north being towards town, right? Everybody knows where north is, okay? The northeast corner, the house on the northeast corner, certainly to me seems to have extra light from the lights at Shield.
Okay.
Okay, I think that house, there's no screening, it's lit up pretty good, okay? I don't think any other houses at that intersection are affected by the light.
Not on the southeast?
The southwest, well, the southeast is
Southwest.
way far away from the,
I meant southwest.
yes, southwest is a newer home being built.
Yeah.
Okay? And the road commission negotiated with them on the property, so I assume that they told them there's gonna be lights. I don't think we've heard a complaint from that
Okay.
corner.
Okay.
As you move up the street, there's a home that's right in the middle that has heavy landscaping and a fence in front of it.
Dick's place, yes.
They have filed all sorts of complaints about it, but truthfully, if you stand out there, you can't see any light in their yard. Their house was completely, all lights were off at one point, and you couldn't even see the house from the road. It was, at least I couldn't. I mean, I knew there was a house there, but other than the fact that the garage door was white and reflects light a little differently than the dark, I don't know what they're complaining about. Mr. Stalker, who's one to the north of them, has a little bit of light that comes off of the Dan Hoy Baker lighting. I don't know if it's enough to warrant swapping out the lights, in my opinion, but it's all subjective, right?
It was
He's the
better
one.
anyway.
Well, you know, I mean, a semi-decent shade probably would keep any light that's there out of it. Now, you know, it remains to be seen if, under the snowy conditions, all of a sudden the reflectivity goes way up and there's a major problem, I guess. But, and then certainly the blue house at the corner, that's on the northwest corner by the school, that the school's owned, that's affected heavily because the lights are right on top of it, but the schools knew that.
I know he was there.
My problem with this is that the lighting, the photometric plans that were shared right at this council table when we ordered the lights didn't show any indication that the light was going to be a problem for these homes. I mean, the color bands that they do, if you've ever seen a photometric plan, don't extend anywhere near where the homes are. And I feel like Detroit Edison should have, you know, if they were reading their own plan, or if there was a problem, they should have anticipated it and told us that rather than after the fact. I think it's silly for us to waste $35,000 or whatever the number is on lighting improvements that we're not going to get the benefit of being decorative. I don't, that's my own opinion, but.
Well, and additionally, I know this because I went around with a light meter for a community that was drafting zoning ordinance and we wanted to get an idea. The standard Cobra head that they would propose to install, similar they've got at Wagner and whatever.
Silent Church.
Those are really tall Cobra heads. They're 30 feet up in the air. The biggest determinant on light trespass, aside from the output of the light, is how tall the thing is. If you've got the same fixture and it's 10 feet above the ground, it's not going off. If you've got it 30 feet in the ground, it's still going to be going back and hitting them. So I would also be concerned, we've spent this money on the thing, they go through and they put these more highway-looking fixtures out there, there's still going to be light issues.
Because they're high.
Because they're high.
When you could see light, I mean, there was no light there before, so I mean, to have any light now, when you look out the window, you're gonna see light. I mean, that's not gonna be avoided.
How tall are the ones we have?
I don't know off the top of my head. We can find that out, though.
Either.
We can find that out.
I don't know that they were any shorter than what they would have been if we would have went with the other ones, I think.
They're taller than our street.
Yeah, I think that,
My point is, it's like hiring somebody to design something in your house. You know, you hire them to do the job. I mean, we essentially let the road commission lead that process, let Detroit Edison be our lighting expert. Yeah, I just don't think we should get stuck with the bill for something that doesn't get used. That's my thought. I mean, if they have to change the lights out and it fixes the situation for the residents, you know, I guess I'm all for that. I'm not, it's not like we have this decorative style elsewhere in town that we're not matching any longer, but I don't want to waste the dollars, but that's the purpose of the meeting.
we did get some good news that our portion of the Baker Road roundabout project, that where we paid Baker, came in pretty significantly under budget because they didn't have to do as much base repair as was budgeted. So that we should have enough budgeted basically to cover that plus the road commission's inspection of the project. And it looks like the roundabout in general came in right at or below budget, so hopefully there will be enough to pay for the construction inspection with the CMAQ money. So we are hoping our share is not significant. So I don't have final costs on that, but it's looking better and better. So.
That's great. Okay, any further questions for Courtney? Community garden report looks good. Several of them are. Thank you. I don't have much to report. I've been out of town, as mentioned last time, so I'm going to cover the road commission meeting. Does anybody have any questions for me? I'll just say thank you for coming early to the closed session. I thought that was productive. Okay, to move on to, oh, I do have one thing to say. I don't have to abstain from the bills and the payroll because my name's on it, right?
I mean, that's up to you, I guess. But, I mean, you're just getting a refund
There's
of a
refunds for the
deposit,
deposits,
yeah,
right?
$20, so.
All right, just thought
Material.
the community garden refund is on the bills and payroll approval. So I'm just going to abstain from that, the next item. Yeah, please, John.
40.
So we'll move on to consent agenda.
I move we approve the one item listed on the consent agenda, bills and payroll, in the amount of $188,384.48.
Second.
Motion by Quigley, second by Smith. Thank you. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Those opposed? Those abstaining will be me. Okay, no old business, so we'll move on to new business item L1, consideration of the Middle Huron Partnership Contract Renewal.
I make a motion that we approve the signing of the 5-year contract with the Rural Watershed Council.
Second, with clarification that the approximate fee is $6,803 per year.
Great. Motion by Smith, second by Michelle's. I think that's well stated.
So this is our partnership that provides us with a lot of assistance with our stormwater needs. Rick Lawson is here from the Watershed Council in case there's any questions. I tried to kind of lay out in the memo a lot of the things that they assist with. There is a cost increase, but like I said in the memo, I feel like it's worth it. I mean, the things that they're doing are important. Going to the every year calendar is a large expense for the group, but everybody and people who pay a lot more than we do, we're supportive of it. So I think that, and we do choose to mail that to every resident. So there's a little bit of additional postage cost we pay, but I think that's worth it. I think people look forward to it. Also, some of the invertebrate monitoring that this group hadn't paid for, but does benefit this group, and we want to see that continue. So yeah, I mean, I go to the meetings now. I've gone for a few years. I enjoy it. We go around and everybody talks about different projects they have going on in their community. So it's nice to hear kind of what other people are doing and what ideas they have for stormwater, especially the involvement of the Washtenaw County and Ann Arbor. They're really good resources for things. So I don't know, Rick, if you have anything you want to add? Or?
Yeah, I'm here to answer questions, but I want to emphasize that we do recognize that there's a significant increase in the budget for this 5-year cycle. We try to do these contracts once every on the stormwater permit cycle, so that everybody's consistent with that, and so that we don't have to continue to come to you every year for that. We do recognize that there are some significant changes that are bringing in additional cost. I want to emphasize that this is a conservative, not to exceed budget, so that we don't have to come back and say we didn't budget this correctly. So it's not, we won't necessarily be charging you that, invoicing you that amount every year. It may be less if we end up not spending that amount of money. And it did, the additional cost did come from the two things that Courtney mentioned. In addition to the city of Ann Arbor is also now adding in the cost for the lab analysis, which they had previously been donating to the effort. So that's now being shared by all the partners. So those are the main reasons for the added expenses. But if you have any questions about what we're doing for you with this, or any of the changes that occurred, I'm happy to answer those questions.
And Rick, I did propose to council that we would just pay a flat amount instead of the escalation.
Okay.
So we would just pay our share, starting from year 1.
That's fine. We just included the escalation so that it would be easier in the first few years, especially if any of the municipalities had budget issues with not having planned for the additional expense.
Rick, what's the total annual Rural Watershed Council budget?
Our total overall budget?
Yeah, overall.
For the whole council? It varies year to year depending on what kinds of projects we have going on and what kinds of grant
Just rough numbers.
Yeah. Roughly, our revenue budget is at about $1.5 million. It's been as high as 2, but it's been progressively increasing as we've been more successful at getting grant money, and this is one of the projects that we've been pretty good with.
And there's no grant money that goes towards this though, right?
There is actually
there?
grant money that goes to this. In fact, one of the increases for macrovertebrate money up until this point has been funded by grant funding. They continue to solicit and look for grant money. It's just become harder and harder for them to support that program with grant funds. The watershed management planning that we do for the group, we are engaging in that process, and that is 90% funded by grant funding, so that is not an increase for this budget. And then a lot of the projects that we've done, larger scale projects, have been entirely funded by grant funds.
Gotcha. So the grant funding isn't shown on the allocation then?
That's correct. It's not shown on that.
Okay, so what's the total cost of this Middle Huron partnership then? If this is a portion of it and the grant funding, what's the total of that?
That's a good question. I've actually done that calculation to do an overall total expenditure. It's something I can pull up for you though.
Just curious.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Yeah, I'd have to send it back to Courtney.
Great. Zach?
How many of these other municipal agencies have you spoken with so far?
So we've communicated with everybody. We are in the process of going to meetings like these. About a quarter of the councils have asked us to come answer questions. Some have already passed and signed the contracts. Washington County just sent over a contract to Washington County Roads. City of Ann Arbor is going later in December. And then we've had, I think, 3 other communities who've already signed contracts. We have had a few of the smaller communities who don't usually participate, have told us that they're not going to participate again. Just a couple of them so far.
So the smaller communities, if they say, no, we're not going to pay an extra $2,000, it's not going to affect our participation or our costs?
It won't affect your cost. What we've decided to do is that we would, again, this was a conservative budget. We think we can do it for, we've got the room in there to make that work. And instead of increasing the budget for the partners, we'll find ways to reduce costs.
Okay. One last question. It's referencing here the wastewater treatment plants as part of the funding thing and part of the concerns. There is a subdivision site condominium in Lima Township that's not on the Huron River, but it's on one of its tributaries.
Okay. One of the Huron's tributaries?
Yeah, Mill Creek right out here.
Okay.
Are they able to participate, Lima Township as an entity, or do they have to have the Huron River running right through them?
No, they would, if they're in the watershed at all, then we are soliciting for them to participate in the organization. It's my recollection that Lima has been in and out. I think there have been a few years in the past they have participated, but being so distant from the Huron River, they generally haven't seen this as an issue for them.
Well, it's my understanding that they've been having some issues with that plant that would ultimately fall to them, so it may be good to give them a ring.
Yes, it's good to know.
So they were compliant for 2018.
Wow. Good for them.
And that's just a subdivision treatment plant?
Yep.
Okay.
Upset things.
This is point of reference. As you know, I've been involved in the watershed council for a long time, and as I remember, the first year that I was there, and I think it was 1969, so I'm real close to 50 years. Hard to believe that they put up with me that long, but anyway, the point being is that I remember our annual budget was $35,000. We had a half-staff person, a half-set-time secretary, so you tell how this is growing. And Rick is absolutely right that that budget has been as high as $2 million, but it depends on the number of grants that we receive and then what we do with those grants in there. But it's an amazing organization and amazing there. And to be quite honest, all of us on the council are really kind of devastated that this PFAS thing has come about to affect this river, which is one of the most recreated, cleanest rivers in an industrial area. And so we're going to work on that and get that fixed. And but it's been a great organization to be involved with. And And they serve beer once a year, right?
Yeah, this doesn't affect suds, does it?
It does, not at all. I will say that on the PFAS issue, that it's actually part of our relationship with the city of Ann Arbor, the water treatment plant there. It does our analysis for our sampling. We don't send it for PFAS, it's an expensive test to run. But that lab made some of the early discoveries of that issue and then got the state to do a further investigation. So they really, that partnership, through us and through the city has paid important benefits for the quality of our residents.
Excellent. Other comments or questions for Mr. Lawson? Yeah,
Just
go
a
ahead, Zach.
technical one on page 68 for the contract. It says the agreement is made 23rd of October 2018. I guess my question for staff is, should that be amended to today's date?
Yeah, when I fill it out, we can fix that.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a motion by Smith, second by Michelle's, to approve the professional service contract with the Watershed Council with the idea that we would pay up to $6803 each year for the next 5 years. Or something close to that, is that correct? Okay, please call the vote.
Smith,
Yes.
Michelle's,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
Bell,
Yes.
Knight,
Yes.
Cousins.
Yes.
Keel.
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you for your good work in the partnership.
Thank you very much, everybody, and have a great rest of your meeting.
Appreciate your patience. New business item L2 is consideration of the tap fee payment arrangement with Dexter Community Schools.
I move to approve the tap fee payment agreement on page 74.
Second.
Okay, motion by Michelle, second by Knight. Thank you both.
Could we put a little note on, let them know that we are in full cooperation with all their activities now, with this activity? Know that we're cooperating with them?
Comments or questions for Courtney or anybody?
But just to go on the record, the reason why I'm comfortable deviating is we understand that they're going to be here, so they're not going to leave town. We've got all the buildings, or most of the buildings. They do have funds to cover it, but for the first 2 years when they're requesting the lower payment, the funds are a bit restricted because they've already been committed. But in the third year, they've got the source, they'll be able to pay for it. So that's why I'm comfortable making the deviation, and also is referenced in the staff materials that it's not going to harm our funds to take care of these systems in the meantime.
Okay.
This is just for the new elementary school.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay. Any other comments? Seeing none, please call the vote.
Knight,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
Bell,
Yes.
Michelle's,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Cousins.
Yes.
Keel.
Yes. Motion carries. New business item L3, discussion of youth board representatives.
So council asked that staff go back to our various commissions and seek feedback, so that's been included. Two commissions from Justin, one from Mike, who handled it at Planning Commission. I was actually at that meeting or something, Central Street, I think, so I was there for that as well. So yeah, I guess it's just up to council now, something that you want. We included the student representative information that we put in there in the past, the expectation sheet there, and then a draft application.
So is the general consensus that the boards are struggling with this? Am I reading this right or reading the wrong parts of this? Or they all
I think
jumping up and down to do this?
at least our social heritage has some questions for sure. My sense, and this is all I can really provide outside of the information that was provided with the packet, my sense is that a majority of Parks and Rec is on board and would be ready to move forward with some guidance on how to interact with the students. But I think that Arts, Culture, and Heritage would be interested in speaking with any member of council who wants to move this forward.
Excuse me, they want to speak to us?
I think they just want to hear more about why it's something that council wants to do.
I think they want to understand the impetus behind council's desire to move forward with.
So to follow up on that question, so I guess the question is, if they want to come to us, they can either call me up, they want to know that individually, or they can set a meeting and ask us to come to the meeting, or a representative, well, we have a representative meeting, okay? But I guess,
I mean, Don, would you describe it different? I'm not sure how to.
No, I wouldn't describe it different. I think it's as part of the revamping of the master plan, there was much discussion on involving programs for young people. You know, we have plein air, but that's not necessarily a kids' activity. However, as part of plein air, we had Chalk the Block, and we have had paint rocks this year. We've had them paint on these. But we wanted to expand that and to do more with the arts, the culture, the history for younger people. So that was in their heads, and that's what they were headed for. And then when this came up, there just wasn't any, I didn't see really any support for going this way. And they wanted to know, if this is what council wants to do, then could we talk about it with you? You explain it to us. We don't get it, so. And I don't think there's any animosity involved. It's just like, whoa, that really isn't where we were headed. That help?
And then, you know, they did indicate that any member of council who was in support is more than welcome to come to the next ACH meeting in December and have a conversation about it.
Actually, not. I would have said that more than welcome would be, they wish that they would.
And I think planning, I mean, you know, Mike did a good job of outlining the comments, and Jim, I imagine you were there, you know, this one in a while. You know, Janice, were they worried, I think, or Scott too, that's right, a little bit concerned about like the subject matter, and would they be able to, you know, have the expertise, you know, that sort of, but I don't think that was necessarily a deterrent, it was just a conversation.
And one often wonders if adults on the planning commission have
It was more a matter of would they be able to grasp it? What's the ramp up? And Scott and Jim, correct me if I'm wrong, what's the ramp up to really understand? Because it's very technical. And in the interim to that, really understanding what's going on, how engaged or even interested would they be?
Well, I think one of the things maybe that needs to be made clear, I mean, we're not looking to like force kids to be on these commissions, right? So they would have to have some sort of interest in it to apply, I would think. I mean, we're not going to just find a random kid and say, hey, you're going to be on planning commission. I mean, if they don't want to do it, then.
So, I mean, in the interest of, I was at the planning commission meeting, and my general sense was nobody opposed the idea.
Right.
All of a sudden was in front of us, and it was like, why? Where did this come from? What are we trying to do here? There was very little explanation of genesis of the idea, of what the city, what the benefits, what benefits we would expect to accrue from doing this, how it would work. Did it come from the school originally? Was the city council's idea? There's very little explanation of the context of this. So we're all
I guess that's my fault. I didn't realize that you guys felt that way. I mean, I thought we explained that it came from council through a discussion, but I don't know that it necessarily has, I mean, where we could have listed like very specific things. I mean, it was a conversation that got brought up during council goals and objectives, that it was a good idea to, have students, because other communities do it. So I guess that's our fault.
My question is it council that decides whether, that you're going to have reps on these different committees?
Yeah.
Or, can it be up to the committee or commission?
And that's up to council, I guess. I mean, at the end of the day,
that's what I'm asking.
Right.
my fellow members that, should we be deciding whether planning or, arts and culture, should have it or not? Or should it be up to that particular committee or commission to decide whether they felt there, it would make sense to have a student representative there?
I'll try to muck some bit in here, since I think I was one of the first folks to throw this idea there. And in my perspective, it's like throwing a hand grenade into a bird rookery. We're killing a lot of things all at once with this. Good things. They're evil birds. That, for example, the parks, if they're wanting to do the master plan and include youth and children, it's a heck of a lot better to have a youth or children there getting feedback instead of doing a survey going to school. You get someone who's got that voice there. Also, there's a large gap of knowledge where folks don't know how their local government works. They get half a year of civics, which is state and federal. They don't know how stuff happens here. So getting them involved, maybe they participate, they have some ownership, they care about what's going on. For Planning Commission, they may not know all the technical stuff, but they're the ones who are going to be using this longer than anyone at this table. They're, the impacts they're going to feel it longer. A couple of things that I do see interesting from the feedback is I think we may want to consider it that we give preference to juniors and seniors. If there's a high-quality freshman or sophomore that is really interested, I don't think we ought to exclude them, but I can understand concern about the younger folks in there. I'm not sure how we'd want to do this too, but I like the idea of somehow pairing up with the mentor, so someone can walk you through and say, this is how Planning Commission works, here's how these things go on, be brave, talk, we want to hear your opinion, that type of mentor connection. I'm not sure if it's a member on council or a member of that body.
And to hit on that point, that was one of Parks and Rec's few concerns, was that they understand that they would be taking on a mentor role, and they wanted some guidance on how to fulfill that.
Yep, and I would say that the whole committee ought not to feel that they're the mentor for the kid. They're supposed to function, and the kid's supposed to be a part of that functioning. And eventually, would like to have one of the folks at this table too, well, one of these three tables. But it's a little bigger thing to get to this table, so in my worldview, we try it out with some of the other groups first. So that's my quick spoke on that.
So I guess the question is, are we deterred by the concern, or do we still like the idea? I think if we like the idea, which I do, I think, I'm happy to call the chair of each of these committees and see what kind of questions they have, if that's necessary. I don't really think it's that hard a concept to understand. I'm a little surprised by some of the pushback, truthfully, I'll say that, on the camera, on record. I'm surprised by it, but I'll call the chair of each of these. If the genesis of where it came from and the reasons that we discussed here weren't conveyed to the committees, we can certainly correct that and do that. I mean, I know that Courtney, you and Justin and Michelle all know how the ideas came up because you were part of it.
Correct.
So if that hasn't been explained well enough, I'm happy to write that down. I'm sure Zach would help me write it down. I think if we take those bullet points and say, here's some of the pros and cons, or the pros we see out of this process. If there's a couple people that are generally steering these committees, I'd like to know who they are so we can talk to them. But I don't think this is that hard to keep moving forward. I'd like to not see this detoured.
Yeah, and I didn't mean to imply that planning was opposed to it.
No, you said that they're generally
I think
okay with it.
They're generally supportive, but it's just that, they, yeah, I don't think I heard anyone oppose it. But it was, I think, a little clarification before it's implemented
And we probably do need to
Probably.
clarify that we haven't officially talked to the school about any of this. I mean, to my knowledge, unless somebody has done it, you know, in passing or whatever, we haven't, we're not making it a school program. We were going to maybe advertise it through them, if you will, but it was our idea to, or Zach, you brought it to the table, give full credit.
Yeah, that's probably my fault, sorry.
No, it's not. No, it's not where I'm going. I'm saying, we've adopted it, I think. Paul?
Well, I mean, the schools already have this for for the school board, and this is not, we're not plowing new ground here.
Right.
We are in Dexter, but it's not a new concept.
Or a lot of communities do it.
A lot of communities do
Even
this,
here.
okay? And I don't know of any of the communities, and I'll be quite honest, I'm not that person, that have it on their planning commission or the other. Most of the time, it's at the table where the decisions are made, the final decisions are made. So it's at the council, or at the school board, or something like that, okay? So, I guess my thought was, you know, maybe we should be doing it first to show everyone else work, so that then you can see that the planning commission or at Arts, Culture, and Heritage really does work. I don't know, I guess I'm like Sean, I'm surprised at the pushback, but that's because maybe it's just not a new concept, a new idea that they've never been familiar with. And I'll take that, you know, that is the answer rather than that they really have a problem with it, okay? Because I know most of the people on those committees, and they're good people, and they have an open mind about a lot of things, most everything, okay? So I'm just, maybe it's just a new idea that they weren't familiar with, but as I said before, I'd like us to move forward with it, and if anybody wants to call me up, feel free to have them call me up, or I'll meet with them, or they can come here and voice their concern here, either way.
Well, I think something like a list of the pros and goals coming from council to each of the committees, I think, is a good starting place, and then potentially a member of council coming to the next ACH meeting, I think might be helpful.
And I forgot, but one of my other points, is this is a good way, I think could be a way that they could get help for some of the projects that they have, or instance, Arts, Culture, and Heritage, you know, for plain error, okay? Or any of the other particular things that they may need help for in some area that.
Okay, so I think.
Can I ask a question?
Sure you can.
It was something that you said I think would be really helpful. How will we match the mentors? I think maybe some of the people that are on the committees are seeing themselves as like, whoa, how am I going to manage the student? How would we then?
I think somebody would have to express, I mean, we'd just ask if somebody was interested in doing that. I mean, it would be nice if it was a person on the commission. You know, I don't think we would force, again, I don't think we were looking to force anyone to do that. You know? But somebody might have an interest in doing that.
And I suppose in the ideal world, the ex officio would be a nice gap, but I don't think it has to be. And I can see a lot of times where there's someone on the planning commission who might be really energized and want to do that, and then they get much more feedback or guidance.
Okay, so action item for next meeting, maybe can we try to put together that list of reasons why we want to do it, so we can review that and get it to the committees?
Yep.
No fair takeaway from the discussion item? Mr. Smith?
I'd like to ask Michelle if you could put that on the next planning agenda. So we can see if there's any other concerns. So we can provide feedback to the council.
That'd be great. Any more discussion needed at this time on that? Okay, new business item L4 is consideration of the update to the 2018-19 fee schedule.
Make a motion, we approve the resolution on page 82 for the escrow tax payments to be added to the 2018-2019 fee schedule.
Second.
Motion by Smith, second by Michelle's. Thank you both.
I don't know whether Marie wants to say anything about that.
Something hopefully will make everyone's life a little easier. It's all behind the scenes.
Just have one question.
Ms. Knight?
Who pays the $5 per parcel fee?
That would be the escrow service.
Okay.
If they choose not to use.
Right. Yeah, I haven't heard, CoreLogic and Wells Fargo, they're like, fine. Loretta's kind of giving me some pushback, but I think it's because their employee doesn't understand what I'm really asking, so I'm trying to work with them through it because they're already being serviced in other states. So they shouldn't have another, like, because there's like a setup fee, a one-time setup fee. They shouldn't have another one for Michigan. And even if they do, City of Lansing, they probably have a few parcels with that. We're just a little sister.
Can we say on here that doesn't apply to city taxpayers or to individual taxpayers? Actually on the schedule?
Oh, can it say?
Can we add that? Just so that nobody's going to be looking at the when they look at the fee schedule.
Justin, good with that?
To individual taxpayers.
Right, yeah.
So how long do you think it'll take BSNA to automate the thing so you're not still doing the manual thing that you're doing now?
Depends on how much Lansing and I can pressure them.
Do you mean like you have to print a report and send it every day?
No, I'll have to just do an FTP file.
But I mean, you're you're just taking the file and sending it somewhere.
Yes, yeah.
That's all. When you say manually doing it,
That's what I mean.
so you're hoping someday they'll just be able to send it from BSNA.
Right.
But you're not like typing something
No.
every day.
Oh, no.
You're just taking a file.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I just wanted to clarify.
File reports and, it's just like right now, BSNA has an automatic FTP to like their website that gives all the up-to-date information. We're just hoping someday that they can just do that right to the GovTech as well.
So that will be in effect this tax year in December?
Yeah, it was kind of pretty cool. I mean, you know the business, and this time around, the guy from GovTech just sent an email out to them, and I was like, wow, that was easy for me.
The tax bills go out this week, right?
Yeah, they're already in the printer. Yeah, they should be delivered by December 1st. In fact, I approved the proofs today.
Zach?
Just roughly, aside from the setup fee, what's the nominal parcel per parcel user fee?
It is 25 cents if you are a small bank using the individual portal side of it. And I want to say 15 cents a parcel if you're a major escrow service. And, you know, getting the big, I think it might be 10 or 15.
All right. Thank you.
Less than the cost of the stamp.
Further comments? Okay. Spell the vote, please.
Cousins?
Yes.
Knight?
Yes.
Bell?
Yes.
Fisher?
Yes.
Michelle?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Hill.
Yes. Motion carries. Council comments this
Thank you,
evening,
Council.
starting with Mr. Cousins. Mr. Bell. Ms. Fisher. Recording Secretary. Ms. Jones.
One thing, if you're interested in purchasing some Lebkuchen cookies, we're doing a make-a-thon at the church tomorrow. We'll have them at our monthly dinner in December on the 6th. We're making our own homemade Lebkuchen.
What are those for sale?
On the 6th of December at our monthly dinner.
Will they be part of the dinner, or we can buy them?
You can buy. They won't be a part of the.
Okay.
You're gonna have to test our capability of cooking.
Thank you. Mr. Smith? Ms. Knight?
I just want to wish everyone a happy holidays, since we won't see each other before Christmas coming up, and have a safe.
We got a meeting on the 10th.
Oh, thank you.
It just seems like Christmas. That's the weather. I really did.
The holidays come fast, I know.
Yeah, right, like tomorrow night, let's do that.
Happy holidays to you, too.
Thank you.
Zach?
On this Wednesday, Cap Dart is going to have probably its last meeting of the year, and we're going to have someone from Watts, the transportation folks in Washtenaw County, out to help shepherd us through creating a more robust, implementable regional transportation land use title goodies document. So we'll have more information coming back from that. And if you want to go, Wednesday at 7 at the Wave office on Jackson. That's it.
Very good, thank you. Background and honor range participation? Is there anybody, please state your name and address for the record, if you would, please.
Name is Ron Miller. I live at 7654 Forest Street in Dexter. And I was happy to see the on the agenda, the youth representation. I wanted to speak to it because I can speak to it as a past school board member because I was on the school board when we first accepted students on the board. I want to speak strongly to the idea that I think it's a wonderful thing, if nothing else, to promote good citizenry. And I think there's a lot for Dexter to gain by that, and for the students in the future, for their participation in government activities, as Zach, as you brought up. I think it, though, is a role of the council to be very clear to what their expectations are. One thing I noticed from the students who participated, we had very excellent students on the student board. For a long time, they remained very, very quiet and didn't actually participate. So just because you have they look like they're energetic and they're promoting, doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to. And I think, so you have to encourage exactly what your expectation is of them. They need to understand that. And then the commissions need to make it very, very clear on informing and mentoring them to understand exactly what the role of each of the commission are. And if that's decided that it's a single mentor, fine. But I know from Parks and Recreation, we really felt that that was going to be critical to be able to mentor them. So I think it's a good first step. Yes, there's plenty of examples all across the country of this working, and sometimes it doesn't work. And it doesn't work because they just get on and you think you've done your job and they just flounder. So I think we can't just think we're doing a good thing and put them on and then say, well, we hope it turns out great. I think it's just got to be very, very clear what the expectations are. That's it.
Thank you very much for expressing that.
Yeah.
Anyone else in the audience? Okay. Motion by Cousins. Second by Smith. All in favor? Aye. We'll see you tomorrow.